So, hi, Grandpa. How you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Good. So, this is my grandfather, Dennis Duckett of Tripola, Iowa. He is going to be my interviewee for this assignment, the historical perspectives on adolescence for the summer 2024 term of Intro to Psychology. As we get started, the first thing I'd like to ask you is, where did you attend high school?
I went to 4 different high schools.
Okay.
I graduated from Parkersburg after being there only 3 months. I graduated from there. And then before that, I was going to high school at Orange Township. And before that, I went to high school at LaPorte City. I was only there for about 1 year. And before that, I was going to, 8th grade is as far as I went at Janesville. And then from Janesville, I moved to LaPorte City, then to Orange, and then to Parkersburg. And that's where I graduated from.
That's a lot of running around.
That's a lot of fun. I had a lot of different friends.
Good. And how come you had to do that? Or why did you have to go to so many different schools?
Well, for one thing, my dad was a farmer, and he rented the different farms that we were on. And my last 4 years or 5 years or whatever of high school, we moved around that many times.
I see. So it was because of all the different farms that he farmed.
Well, naturally, I was living at home, and where my folks lived, I lived.
Right. Did you help out on those farms?
Of course.
You were really involved, were you?
Yeah, I really enjoyed farming. I liked it.
That's good. What kind of farming did you do?
Stock cattle. Every once in a while, my dad there for a while raised a bunch of sheep that we sold and of course sheared and what have you, and mostly grain farming, corn and beans.
Corn and beans. Did you have the same kind of technology back then that you have now?
Oh no, it's a lot different now than it was then. These days, a farmer can just drive his tractor up in a field and practically get out of it and let it do its thing. In those days, you had to be hands-on all the time, paying attention and listening.
Can you describe that for us a little bit?
Well, these days, these tractors and combines and stuff are pretty well hooked up to satellites, and they're automatic. And back when I was living at home, there was no satellites. Well, I take that back. Sputnik did go up in '57, and that's the only satellite. Well, shortly after that, we put up a little satellite. But we didn't have satellites to help us out like they do today.
Right. Or
computers.
Sure, right. So I guess what did you do on the farm specifically? Like, how did you interact with the technology of the day?
Well, I worked wherever I was needed. If Dad needed a tractor driver, I was out there plowing or disking or cultivating or harvesting, whatever it took. And if that wasn't what he wanted that day, I mean, he did later on usually, but there was always livestock to take care of, and there was always repairs and stuff to do. And not to mention, I was still going to high school.
That sounds like a busy life.
Well, yeah, I had a lot of fun. It was busy.
So you really enjoyed it?
Oh yeah, I enjoyed it all.
Would you, would you recommend that it was worth doing for everybody of your age?
School?
No, the farming with the school, everything, the life that you kind of lived back then. Would you recommend that to be something that most kids would enjoy or should do or anything like that? What do you think?
Oh, definitely, yes.
Do you think it taught you any of your values or your morals or anything like that?
Oh, yes, it did.
Which values specifically do you think that it really instilled in you?
Well, one of the most important things is hard work.
Hard work.
It is.
Hard work, yep. And so, while doing all this, it was a lot of physical labor, correct?
Not always, but there was always some physical labor, but not really hard. Because after all, we had tractors that we could ride around and do the plowing and the combine and stuff. And as far as feeding the cattle go, we had tractors and wagons to haul their feed around and put their grain out of the wagons into the feed bunks and stuff like that. It wasn't hard work, but it was continuous work, repetitive work every day. But I enjoyed it. It was fun.
And what kind of like tangible benefits do you think you reaped from this kind of work?
Well, besides a good upbringing and education, a high school education, as far as I went, was graduated from high school, and as far taught me hard work and whatever is the best policy.
Sure, that actually answers my next question. I guess what I meant was, what did you gain from it? Like in your experience, like how did it benefit you? Like with like say the way the farming, not in a way of like for your morals and values, but how did it benefit you in your day to day? Like did you use the grain? Were you able to use the cotton or use the sheep? I can't remember what it's called. I can't
wool.
think. Wool. Thank you. Did you use the wool in your day to day life? Did you use the grain? Did you use milk from cows or anything like that? You know what I mean? How did that benefit you?
Well, actually, the sheep were a good deal. We had at that time there was good prices on the wool,
Mm-hmm.
and so we raised sheep,
Mm-hmm.
and they were really fun. I really enjoyed the sheep. Well, we also raised calves. We had a bunch of calves on buckets.
Mm-hmm.
My dad would go to the sale barn and buy them as calves, a couple days old or a week old, and then we'd raise them on buckets and sell them for beef,
Mm-hmm.
to the packing house.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the sheep all went to the sale barn,
Mm-hmm.
and they got butchered somewhere along the line. Somebody bought them that wanted to do that with them, just like they did the cattle.
Mm-hmm.
And the pigs the same way. You raise them up, sell them to the butchers, so everybody can eat.
Right. Yeah, that makes
And
sense.
let's see, I kind of got away from my question. What was it again?
The day-to-day benefits the physical benefits that you had from your farming, like whatever it was,
Well,
milking cows or
Yeah,
something
okay,
like
well,
that.
the best thing is day to day, every day, doing the same thing, and I knew what I was going to have to do the next day and the next day
Sure.
and stuff like that, and I think it taught me good labor.
Right.
Taught me to work.
I recall a story where you talked about milking cows and getting the cream and what you used to do with that cream.
I drank it right straight. After Dad would milk the cows, and I would help him,
Mm-hmm.
we'd bring the milk in the house,
Mm-hmm.
and we'd let it sit in the refrigerator. Not all the milk, because we sold the milk, most of it.
Mm-hmm.
But what we needed, we bring in the house,
Mm-hmm.
set it in the refrigerator, and by the next day or the next morning or whatever, there would be 2 or 3 inches of cream on top of that milk, because it was pure milk coming out of the cows, and so it had cream in it too.
Mm-hmm.
And so, anyway, then my mom would take off the cream off of it, and we would use the cream for coffee or anything else that we needed cream for. Whipped cream, for cake topping and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But myself, I drank the cream straight. After my mom separated the cream from the milk, which is easy to do because the cream rises to the top,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll easily pour off, and it'll leave the straight milk in the bottom.
Right.
So anyway, I would every day I would have a glass or two of that cream with chocolate in it, Hershey's chocolate, and God, I'd have one for breakfast,
Mm-hmm.
and when I got home from school before I went out and started doing my work, I'd have a big glass before I went out. Then I'd go out and do my chores, whether it was feeding livestock or whether it was going out in the field and doing my tractor work
Sure.
and stuff like that. And then when I got, when Dad finally came home from his work, because he worked at a factory as well as farming, and we'd come out and Mom would have supper made for us. Then we'd have supper, and if there was any light chores to do outside after supper, we'd do that. Then after that, we'd retire to the living room and watch TV any way us kids did.
Right.
Dad didn't necessarily do that. Dad was working almost all the time. He'd get up at 4 o'clock, 4:30 every morning and go out and do chores before he'd go to work.
Wow.
He was a busy guy. He hardly got any sleep.
Yeah.
He was the last one to go to bed, and he was the first one long up before I got up.
Wow. So what did you do for entertainment at this time?
What did I do for entertainment?
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I first got my driver's license, before entertainment, geez, I want to go back to way back before I was a kid. I mean, we played outside at night in the dark because we didn't have electricity in one of the houses that we lived in. We didn't even have water inside the house. We didn't even have plumbing in the house of any kind.
Wow.
So we had an outside toilet, and we lived on a couple of farms where we had outside toilets. And when you took a bath, you'd take it in a big round tub, a galvanized tub,
Mm-hmm.
and unless we was lucky enough that we did sports, calisthenics, whatever, at school, then we'd take a shower at school, and that's where we got our showers. And so, as far as entertainment goes, since I lived out in the country, I didn't see too many of my friends except in school.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I got older, then I started doing in school programs.
Mm-hmm.
Eileen and I, we were both in singing class, not orchestra, what do you call it? Where we all
Chorus.
Mm-hmm.
choir, not choir.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, we were a singing group. What the heck did you call it?
I don't remember, Dennis.
And anyway, it was school functions and 4-H, not 4-H, Boy Scouts and stuff like that. That was the entertainment
Mm-hmm.
until I got up to 16 years old.
Sure.
And before that, I was counting on my folks taking me where I wanted to go, and other kids coming picking me up and taking me. We'd go to town and cruise the strip,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff. That was the entertainment for us kids before we had a driver's license. Then when I got my driver's license, folks said I could have the car anytime I wanted, and so I'd go cruise the strip almost every night.
Wow.
Yeah, of course, Dad had trucks and he had pickups,
Mm-hmm.
and I took the car.
Mm.
So yeah, Dad was never out, or Mom either, was never without wheels.
Right.
And so we'd cruise the strip, and that was the fun. And that's where we met all the other kids. And then of course, when we got done with the strip, we was in high school football,
Mm-hmm.
and basketball and baseball, and the Boy Scouts always kept us going. Dad, he'd have us Boy Scouts out to the farm, and we'd pick up corn that fell out of the picker, and we'd sell it, and
Mhm.
he'd let us keep the money.
Mm-hmm.
He just wanted to help us out.
Mm-hmm.
So he did all kinds of stuff like that, always helping us out, loaning us stuff, for 4-H and so on. And so other than that, entertainment was, cruising the strip. Eileen and I would go on little trips once in a while, like Devil's Backbone or some other parks, over to Dubuque and Prairie du Chien and stuff like that. And we had some friends. How long you want that thing to go on?
You could keep going.
Just keep going.
Yeah.
We had some friends when we first got married. Of course, we still had them afterwards. But we played cards almost every night when we had the opportunity to. And we would drink Pepsi and eat potato chips and stuff like that. And visit.
Mm-hmm.
And the other couples we run around with, they had kids too.
Mm-hmm.
And so
that was basically all the way up until your adult life when you started having those kids to hang out with those friends.
yeah, that was up until I was about, 18 or 19, because I got married at 18.
Mm-hmm. To Eileen Duckett, right?
Yeah.
Well, and here's Eileen. We'll say hi to my grandma. Hi, Grandma.
Hello,
Eileen,
Josh.
also from Chipola. Been married how long?
65 years.
Yes.
And a couple of days at this time.
65 years and a couple of days. Wow.
Well, actually, I think it's almost 2 weeks. 65 years and 2 weeks at this time.
Mm-hmm. Sure. And so, I was going to ask you. So, what do you think about? What do you think was like your biggest issues or biggest problem as a teenager or in adolescence? What is the worst thing you had to worry about back then?
First thing I had to worry about, well, I don't know. I was a happy-go-lucky guy. I never had any worries. I mean, I always fixed my own cars. Since when I bought my car, I started learning how to fix cars and so on. Although my dad had me into mechanics, him and he did all the work. I just watched. And I was a gopher to get tools for him.
Mm-hmm.
And we overhauled tractors and stuff like that, cars. Yeah, we did a lot of work. I won't say we did a lot of work together, but I was occupied with my car, and when I didn't have stuff to work on with Dad, that's when I'd play with my car.
What kind of car was that?
It was a Studebaker. Well, it was a classic.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first Lowy body style Studebaker that Lowy designed, and after that, from Lowy, he also designed the Hawks, the Golden Hawks, and the Silver Hawks, and he designed a bunch of other cars Lowy did, and he was quite successful. And when he left Studebaker, he started working for GM, I believe. So, but anyway, he was a great car designer. I mean, I love that Studebaker. I see a picture of it every once in a while because I got it on my TV here.
Mm-hmm.
I think, what a nice car.
Mm-hmm.
But then I remember why I sold it. It had so many miles on it, it was just wore out.
Yeah. Did you put all those miles on it?
Oh no.
No.
A guy had it before me and he used to race it.
Ah.
He had a supercharger on it.
Ooh.
He said it'd do over 135 with that supercharger on it.
That's miles per hour, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
135 miles an hour over.
Wow.
And when he got rid of the car, he took the supercharger off.
Yeah.
And so I got it with just a straight engine. It had a big V8 in it. It would do 107 miles an hour.
Oh yeah.
Which wasn't really fast.
Mm-hmm.
Although it was just fast enough to beat my buddy's Mercury.
Yeah. And that's what really mattered, right? There, right?
Well, I always had fun with doing that.
Yeah.
Whenever we'd meet on the highway going to school, I'd race him to school.
Wow.
Oh yeah, because he came up the same blacktop I did to get to the school. And my buddy was our best man, right?
Yep.
So yeah, he was our best man.
So what kind of dating did you guys do?
What kind of dating?
Yeah, what was dating like for you and Grandma, say? What did you do when you dated back then? How was it different from today, do you think?
Well, I don't know if it's different from today. We went to a number of movies. We liked movies.
Mm-hmm.
And did we go on very many picnics, Grandma?
Yeah, we did.
We did?
With our folks, my folks. Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Dad's
Yeah.
pickup.
Yeah.
Go fishing.
I almost left Eileen's folks out of this. They took us on, little short trips, day trips, like over to the Mississippi or stuff like that. And they would have me drive because Vernon wasn't driving too well.
Mm-hmm.
And Lois, she had no idea where she wanted to go. So they just more or less pointed me in the direction and said, let's go this way. We're going to find out where we're going to go. We don't know where we're going to go. Let's go see where it goes.
Sure.
And so we did that.
Mm-hmm.
They enjoyed fishing. I enjoyed going and watching the river and watching them fish and enjoying the park atmosphere, there and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Because after I got married and moved off the farm, we lived in town. So I really didn't have too much outside fun experiences except on weekends when we'd go out with her folks.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, weekends I would also go up to my folks once in a while.
Mm-hmm. And
when Dad needed help, I would always make sure I was there.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother-in-laws would go up there and help too.
Mm-hmm.
And Vernon, we would go on trips with Vernon and Lois.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd have us over for a meal practically every weekend, wouldn't they, Eileen?
Yep.
Yeah, every weekend.
It's my great grandparents,
Yep.
Grandpa Vernon and great grandma Lois,
Yep.
which are grandma's parents.
Yes.
I didn't cover what was your parents' names for the camera.
Archie and Sadie.
Archie and Sadie Duckett, right?
Yes.
And where were they from?
Well, they started out from over by Fort Dodge, and then Dad was a coal miner over there in the wintertime, and a farmer, and you might say slave labor for some of the people around there, because him and Mom, they back in the early 30s, they were picking corn and stuff like that by hand, which everybody did, but they were both out there working, and they both of them got $1 an hour. I mean, $1 a day. $1 a day.
Yeah.
Not $1 an hour.
Well, what do you think was the main difference between teenagers today and the way that you guys are, or were in your teenage years?
Well, I was always busy working.
Mm-hmm.
And my sisters, they would help out too, just like I would out in the field. But as they got older, they didn't work. My youngest sister, she was an outdoor person, and boy, she would run the tractors and stuff like that, and do everything that a guy would do. My oldest sister, she was a little bit different temperament. She wasn't interested at all in being outside and stuff like that. She was an office worker, and that's what she did. She started a raft packing company, working up in the computer room on the computers and stuff.
And that was Aunt Loretta, right? Or was that?
That was Loretta, yes.
Yeah, Loretta. Okay.
And Evelyn, like I say, Evelyn was an outdoor person.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother, he did whatever I did. He tagged along, except when I was on the tractor, he didn't work on the tractor or anything like that.
So again, how do you think that compares to
Kids
teenagers
today?
of today? Yeah,
I think kids today don't have enough to do.
You think so? Yeah. Do you think maybe it's that we're doing different things? Maybe that teenagers today are doing different things. It's just a different world, more or less. With technology. What's your perspective on that?
Well, today kids don't have time to work because they're playing with their phones and their computers. So they don't have time to work, and that's the only work that they think of as work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And as far as going out and mowing the lawn or doing anything physical, most of them don't want anything to do with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I understand. So you think that you definitely valued more of the hard physical labor than the value of the type of work that teenagers are doing today. You think that there's a lot more value in the hard labor, in harder labor, or physical labor at least, of work.
Yeah, I do, yes.
That's good. I can agree that there definitely is good value in it, for sure.
Yeah, not that I couldn't get in trouble, because I could have gotten in trouble.
Right.
But I didn't have that way of thinking.
No.
Right.
After all, I had already picked out my wife by the time I was in 8th grade.
Oh yeah, sure. So did you, when you guys spent all your free time having fun and running around and enjoying yourselves, you didn't really have a lot of free time though, really the way it sounds. You were really busy working most of your adolescent life, correct?
Yeah, we were busy. She was working at a store when she was finishing up high school,
Mm-hmm.
doing part-time work at a co-op, they called it.
Mm-hmm.
And me, I was just farming right up until I graduated. And then I went out and got myself a job. And we got married within a couple weeks after that.
Sure. Okay, well, I appreciate the interview today, Grandpa. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure...
Is that all?
That's all. I really appreciate everything. So we'll shake your hand and say thank you, and we appreciate your time, and we'll use this in our psychology class. So have a good night.
Yep. Thank you.